Hey, good morning, everyone. It's Matthew back with another episode. So, I was kind of thinking about some different ideas last night, and a couple that really interested me. So, I was talking to one of my friends, and I talked about, of course, my military history, and of course, over the last dozen years or so, I spent a lot of time working overseas as a government contractor, and so he asked me about the different companies I work for, the different Fortune 500 businesses, and how I would rate them as far as quality, as far as the work that you actually do, level of importance, that type of stuff. And I thought, that would probably make a really good video. It would keep me away from having to do just wrestling videos. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love doing these videos. My favorite tournaments, or my favorite so-called toy line, my least favorite toy line. And so I mean, just kind of get away from doing those and doing something different, that might be fun. Another one I was thinking about is going off of LJN. So the other day we did the least favorite LJN figures. I really didn't want to do the most favorite, only because to me it's like really impossible to really choose 10 of your favorite figures, and based on the my favorite LJN tournament, I'm pretty sure a lot of people could pretty much determine which figures I am going to choose. Even the order that they may come in. So that's actually what this video is going to be. I'm going to go ahead and suck it up and do the my favorite LJN top 10. Another option I was thinking about is the my favorite XOX Customs figures. So originally I was going to pull all of the figures I received from Ram Treasures off the shelves, but kind of didn't make sense to me. There's a number of figures, Boss Man, for example, Warlord, Rick Rude, etc. So I decided, what, let's not include the figures that would have been part of the LJM line. Let's just take simply the figures that were, I guess, exclusives to Random Treasures. Now, figures like Barbarian, Brother Love, for example. What else was on that list? I think Bad News Brown, for example. Yeah, they were technically supposed to be on the original LJN, toy line, in Series 6 Black Card Series, but I'm going to include those as well. Only because, again, they were never produced, so it would just make sense to do it that way. So, right after this video, I'll probably do that, do the my favorite, Ram Treasures figures based on their exclusives. And pulling 10 and LJN, and again, this video is only LJN originals, no customs. Choosing 10 of these figures was impossible. I mean, there's at least 2 or 3 figures, that I talk about frequently, and some of my all-time favorites, and I could not find a spot for it. So it boils down, do you choose a figure like, I don't know, King Kong Bundy, for example, a figure that I absolutely love, that's easily one of my favorite LJNs, but comes with an absolutely, terrible pose. Again, it's a pose that, works for him, and it's one that I've used frequently and got a lot of enjoyment from. Or do I choose someone like an Ultimate Warrior, for example? A much better fighting pose, and the look is outstanding. So that's what it could kind of boil down to. Or a Bret Hart. Do I put a Bret Hart at number 10, or do I put a King Kong Bundy at number 10? I just use it as an example. I mean, they could be much higher in this list than that, but so with this, I think we'll do a little bit different. So instead of going from 10 least favorite and working my way down to number 1 most favorite, again, because of my LJN tournament that I completed a couple weeks ago, everybody knows what number 1 is going to be already. So I think I'm going to start from the bottom, the best figures, and work my way up to, I don't want to call them least favorite, because again, there are 10 of my favorite figures I put on this list. So moving forward, the first one we talked about, Big John Studd. And as you know, Big John Studd with the same exact fighting pose as the Sid Vicious Galoob figure. And at the end of the day, is that why I selected this one above all the other greats? It's possible. Um, but again, the sheer volume, the weight of this figure. I mean, other than King Kong Bundy, I think this is probably the heaviest figure, that LJN has made. And it's just a beautiful look. I mean, I absolutely love this one. Just a great fighting pose. Again, if you're doing Royal Rumbles or single matches, you can really pummel on someone with this, and it's just a lot of fun. So, I mean, not too much to say about these figures other than, look and playability wise. So, we already know Big John Studd. He was on pace to win my favorite LJN tournament, and then I kind of talked myself out of it and ended up giving it to one of my customs, Bruiser Brody, which, it was great that an LJN original and a custom figure ended up in the last two. That was pretty special. But I am putting a Big John Studd, of course, as we already know, as my all-time favorite LJN original figure. Now, coming at number 2, this was a bit of a surprise. So, the original figure was defeated in the first matchup, the first round, by the custom. Whether you're going with the custom or the original, it doesn't matter. They're both absolutely phenomenal figures. With possibly the greatest fighting pose of any of the LJN figures. And, that includes guys like, Big John Studd, for example. I think his custom was eliminated by Studd in, I think, round 3, if I'm not mistaken. Now, I've always talked about Andre the Giant possibly being my most favorite LJN based on the fighting pose. But after kind of reviewing them, I eventually decided to fall back on Hulk Hogan at number 2. So, again, a bit of a surprise, I think, given the fact that in the semifinals of the My Favorite LJN tournament, it ended up being, I believe, Kamala and Big John Studd in the bottom 2. Well, the bottom 4. It was custom, uncustom, and then original, unoriginal. So, and I had a heck of a time choosing between Kamala and Studd. Those were just two absolutely fantastic pieces. But I did go ahead and decide, my favorite wrestler, Hulk Hogan, his pose is just too good. So I have Hulk Hogan as my second all-time favorite LJN figure. I mean, that's just an absolute beauty. And I keep buying this figure. I've sold one, but I have a lot of duplicates, and every time I see them on auction, I keep buying them again. I don't know. It's just a fantastic piece. It just brings a lot of joy just to reminisce about the past, and who better than Hulk Hogan to think about when you think about wrestling. So Hulk Hogan at number 2 as the second greatest LJN figure of all time. And I've already talked about it. It was a tough decision. So really, any Andre, we could have selected Andre Series 2 or Andre Series 6. So either short-haired Andre, blue trunks from Series 2, or black strap Andre, which the black strap is the Andre the Giant I'm familiar with. And, that's the one that easily, to me, the best Andre figure. But, I mean, it doesn't matter. They all pretty much have the exact same fighting pose. So you could really choose any one of them. So this Andre, Series 1 Andre, obviously, right there in line with Hogan and Studd, Series 1, it's kind of, torn in my eyes because you've got figures like Junkyard Dog, you've got Hogan, you've got Andre, you've got Studd. So you got probably 4 of the better figures in Series 1. And then you also got like 3 or 4, Nikolai Volkov is a great one. So you got 5 really phenomenal pieces in Series 1. And then you look at, the Iron Sheiks, the Roddy Pipers, and the Jimmy Snukas of the world. And you think, well, how does a series that produces arguably the best, fighting pose-wise figures also produce 3 of the worst? So I did have, it was a toss-up between Hogan and Andre for the second spot, but it did go to Hogan, and so that leaves Andre the Giant at my third all-time favorite LJN figure. Now, again, I mentioned it was a surprise that Hogan came in at number 2, given the fact that it did boil down to Kamala and Big John Studd in the semifinals, the last two original figures, and as I mentioned, it was an impossible choice selecting either the Ugandan Giant, Kamala, or Big John Studd. And this Kamala figure could have easily been number 2. He could have easily beaten Studd and been number 1. This is just a fantastic piece. Absolutely love it. So I talked about in the past when I wanted to start making these videos. Any of the duplicates that I had, I don't touch any of the singles. So, for example, if I have an Ultimate Warrior on my shelf, unless I got a second Ultimate Warrior in, I'm not going to be touching either one. So I really didn't have a much use. I didn't get any use out of this guy. And, of course, I've been buying duplicates recently. One, just obviously to add to my box of duplicates that I could use if I wanted to. That way when I start making these videos, I can have a better, a playability to talk about. And this is just a fantastic piece. I absolutely love it. I mean, the weight on this is incredible. And, the design, the colors of it is beautiful. And, again, he's got one of the best fighting poses. I mean, right there, Hogan, Studd, Giant type of fighting pose. Absolutely remarkable. So I did put Kamala, and compared to what I used to have at number 4, I think originally when my collection was at a minimum compared to what it obviously now it's complete. I think Nikolai Volkov at one point was like my 4th favorite figure. Huge upgrade. Love the Volkov figure, but you can't top this. This is absolutely amazing. Love the Kamala figure. My 4th all-time favorite. This one, because it's so simple, it's very difficult to put some of the others lower than him. But again, when I started using these guys, for the sake of these videos, no one got more action than Greg the Hammer Valentine. So again, originally, I bought this figure just because, I needed it for my collection. That was it, for no other reason. Nothing special about it. Then I started using it, and now all of a sudden it's jumped up to, my top 10. And I think LJN put together 90 or so, figures or close to it. And, coming at number 5, could he have been lower? 6, 7, 8, maybe. Would he deserve to be that low? Questionable. Some people might feel differently. He could have been as high as 2 or 3. I mean, he's really that good. And like I said, it's a very simple figure. Black boots, black trunks, nothing, too flashy. The skin is really awesome. I mean, he's super tall for whatever reason. I don't think he was that tall in real life, as far as, scale to some of the other figures. And like I said, the pose, when I first saw it, it wasn't super, important to me. It wasn't like the best. I didn't hate it, but I didn't think it was like, anything, super spectacular. And then all of a sudden, I started using him, and I realized that he does have an absolutely phenomenal, actually one of the top body slam poses of any of the LJNs. So he quickly, put himself right up there with Studd and Hogan as far as fighting pose. Again, good clothesline, punching ability, perfect body slam pose. So much fun to use this figure, and he could have been lower, he could have been higher, but I think number 5 is a fair fair point for this figure in. Absolutely love this one, and again, you gotta see why Big John Studd won my whole competition, or at least close to it, for being my favorite original LJN. I mean, just look at some of the folks that he knocked off. Giant, Hogan, Greg Valentine. So Kamala. I mean, he had to go through the big horses in order to win that competition, and this is just a great figure. So Greg Valentine, number 5. The next ones were, it was difficult to choose, to say the least. Um, I ended up going with Big Boss Man number 6. So this is another one of those Ram treasures that I had to buy from them because, again, I'm not shelling out $200 or $300 for a pretty beat up Big Boss Man when you could spend 130 at Random Treasures and get this absolutely phenomenal piece. They do such great work. I just love the shop. I just can't stop talking about them enough. So again, I think he came in at number 6 over some of the others, which I might even like their poses a little bit better than Boss Man. For no other reason, he's got this amazing look, great color to him, great bulkiness. What I like about this is, he's not super thin like the Hasbro Series 3. It's kind of more reminiscent of Series 1 Hasbro with a bigger belly, obviously. But, he doesn't have like this super tiny head like Series 1 Hasbro Bossman has. So this one is obviously a whole lot more proportionate. Nightstick is beautiful. Fantastic accessory. And this is just a fantastic piece. And, like I said, body slam wise, he's got a really good pose too. So absolutely nothing wrong with this one. Incredible piece. Love it. And I think he's actually super tall, just like about the same size, which is weird. Again, I don't know why they make Greg Valentine so tall, but number 6 all-time favorite figure. And this, if I were to make this video tomorrow, a week from now, etc., I may not even keep these figures in this particular order. I think 1 through 5 is pretty safe for the most part. But, I think I made the right choice as far as how I have them set up right now. 6th all-time favorite is Big Boss Man. Coming at number 7. Again, not something that a lot of people enjoy for whatever reason. They don't like the color of this Ultimate Warrior, but I'm just absolutely crazy about the color of the boots. Just look at that. The design is just absolutely phenomenal. And, look, the face paint, have we seen better? I don't know. I think the Hasbro Series 3 Ultimate Warrior has, really adequate, if not the best face paint that I've seen on any figure, but XOX Customs, look at that. That's perfection. Again, if I do make my favorite XOX Customs Random Treasures video, as far as, my favorite figures, I won't be including this. I won't be including Boss Man. I won't be including guys like Warlord or Rick Rude, for example. I won't include Series 2 Andre or Bam Bam Bigelow because, again, those were all original LJN lines. Now, even though, of course, there are original Ted DiBiase's, I will include their green suited $1 Million Man because it's different colors. So it's different enough to the point where I figure it could be on the list. King Haku, that Random Treasures does. I'll include that, even though they have an original Haku, only because, again, color scheme. But back to the figures. Number 7, Ultimate Warrior, and this one did lose out to my Ultimate Warrior custom in the first round, and so this one actually works better with the right arm under. But this is a fantastic body slam pose. Is it the best? Is it a a Hogan-esque body slam pose? No. Is it even a Greg Valentine, type of pose? No. This one's still a much better body slam pose. But, this is still incredible. And, again, the color and design of this is phenomenal. And the fighting pose is one of my favorites. Ultimate Warrior, number 7. And number 8 is the first half of the Hart Foundation. So I did talk about it in previous videos when I was talking about my favorite LJN tournament, that I thought that Jim Anvil was actually a better figure than Bret Hart. And I'm trying to think. I believe because we know that both Customs, Jim Neidhart, and Bret Hart figures defeated their original counterparts in the first round. I think around set round 2 or 3, Bret Hart Custom defeated the Neidhart Custom, and I like the design of the Bret Hart figure a whole lot more. But even at that time, I even mentioned that I thought that Jim Neidhart was a whole lot better playability wise, fighting pose wise, and again, with the little one arm under, I'm not a huge fan of that, but I mean, you kind of bring the right arm over, and you still have where it's kind of connected, so it does feel like a 2 arm body slam. And again, he's got a good clothesline, and he does this little thing with the you basically hit the person in the face or chest or something with a little forearm. I'm not gonna talk about dropping the elbow because again, that I've been saying that to death. I like this one because he actually comes with an original tag team belt. This one is not a Random Treasures belt. And you could always tell Random Treasures, I mean, they got that beautiful rubber belt, which is perfect. Nice and stretchy. And then the originals is more like plastic, I guess. It could be rubber, but it feels plastic to me. And, still love originals. So, that's a great accessory. So, just to recap, we have Stud, Hogan, Andre, Kamal at number 4, Valentine number 5, Bossman 6, Warrior 7, and my 8th all-time favorite figure, Jim Neidhart. Number 9 is Warlord. So we have the first 3 figures come from Series 1. Then Kamala and Valentine, I think Valentine was Series 2. And I think Kamala might have been Series 4, if I'm not mistaken. So we got the middle ones in the middle, and then we got, 3 of the last 5 figures coming from Series 6. So, again, Series 1 and Series 6, I mentioned before, my favorite figures with my favorite poses. So, Warlord was kind of questionable, and I didn't know if I wanted to put him on this list. And the reason being, his arms, they are high enough where it mimics, Macho Man to an extent. I mean, Macho Man, I love the figure, love the history of this character and everything, but I don't think Macho Man, I've said it before, I don't think he would ever crack like the top 30 of my list of all-time favorites. And we're just going off of originals. We're not even talking about customs. If we're throwing customs in there, he'd probably be let's talk about the original, probably number 90. Just throwing out a number. I don't know. But again, he does have. Let me find a good one with a great pose. He does have a really good body slam pose. So, with the rubber, obviously if this was like Galoob or something, you probably wouldn't have been able to, obviously stretch the arms out to the point where you could actually, lift them up. But rubber, so the pose does work for the figure. And, the face paint, beautiful. XOX Customs, love you guys. Amazing figure. Warlord comes in at number 9. Now this one was a toss-up. We had so many different figures that could have come at number 10. Surprising, maybe not. SD Jones. Now we have Bret Hart, one of the greatest LJN figures of all time, not on my top 10 list. We have King Kong Bundy, which is one of my personal favorites. And King Kong Bundy, I was thinking was going to end up at like number 7, number 8. Worst case scenario, he would have been number 10. And I ended up going with Neidhart and Warlord and SD Jones at my last 3 spots. So the fact that I couldn't put King Kong Bundy on this list, that I couldn't put, Bret Hart on this list. I mean, even someone like Billy Jack Haynes, I think is a great figure. Arms far back, but no Junkyard Dog, no Nikolai Volkov. I'm trying to think some of the others that I absolutely love, but SD Jones, the Hawaiian shirt, obviously, I've said it before, I love it so much more than the red shirt. Red shirt makes it just look so plain and simple. But as far as playability, this is a phenomenal, fighting pose. You know, he looks like, so you can actually sit there and grab somebody by the throat, choke slam them. You still got that, left arm under body slam pose. You've got a good right arm under body slam pose. Throw a punch. You got that clothesline. So there's just absolutely no reason why you shouldn't have an SD Jones on your top 10 list. This is just a fantastic piece, and I'm not disappointed with my selection. I am disappointed, obviously, that I couldn't fit King Kong Bundy or Bret Hart on this list. But I mean, as far as choosing SD Jones for top 10, to me it's a right answer. So that is the top 10. Again, I wanted to do it differently because based on how I set up my favorite LJN tournament, everyone knew that Stud was going to be number one, so it didn't make sense for me to go from the back and work my way down. So at least doing it this way, we knock out the first piece that people knew was going to be number one. And of course, some surprising figures like Hogan coming at number two. Again, a toss up between him and Giant, but I end up going with Giant at number three. Kamala coming down to the last two with Stud. The fact that he was number four, not number two, not even number three. Is he better figure than Hogan or Giant? He could potentially have been number one even after my LJN tournament. This is I can't talk about this enough. I mean, it's such a great piece, and the different fighting attributes of him. Normally I like both hands closed, but this really works for the figure. Valentine number 5. Boss Man at 6. Warrior at 7. Neidhart at number 8. Warlord at 9. SD Jones number 10. Now this time, compared to my last video, I actually did keep them in order, so I didn't mess myself up and struggle to remember who I put where. So that completes my favorite LJN top 10 list. I am going to stop here. I am going to come back in a few moments with another video. It's going to be my favorite XOX Customs figures. So I'm trying to think if I want to do it in tournament style. Probably how I have it listed or how I have them displayed on my shelf right now. Probably do it that way. As far as choosing, which one I like, which figure I like best, your least favorite to most favorite, that's going to be difficult because you're essentially going to have, probably have the Bushwhackers go back to back. You're going to have Legion of Doom go back to back. And I really don't like doing, least favorite because, again, their products are so amazing that I don't feel like, calling it least favorite makes sense. What managers like Brother Love, I mean, are you really going to say that phenomenal piece, well, for the sake of argument, let's say it's 10 pieces or 15 pieces and he comes in at the very bottom. It's a fantastic, fantastic representation, just a, beautiful color scheme and everything. So I don't want to call it least favorite. I gotta find a better terminology. But I will be back momentarily, guys, with the next video, and I'll have the 2 videos, maybe 3 if I do the other one with the favorite companies I work for or something. I don't know, and I'll have those uploaded today. Thanks for watching, guys. I will talk to y'all soon. Goodbye for now.